Hello, my name is Jenine and I'm the Queen of NVivo. You may have data that looks a little bit like this. We often refer to this as demographic data that we may collect about, for instance, our interview participants. So what we have here are each of the people in our study, and there are things we know about the people, such as their gender, their age, their community, how long they've lived and worked there, and so on. So often we think, why do we collect this data? Well, it may help us to look for patterns. For instance, is there a difference between gender and how people respond? Is there a difference between age, or is there a difference between communities? So people from Betty as opposed to these in Atlantic. So we can actually import this data into NVivo nice and easily and arrange it alongside our interview data, for instance. So the way that we would do this is firstly close it. So we have cell A1 needs to be an identifier, such here we have person, and then we have the people's names, which are unique identifiers. Keep these ones as simple as possible, and then fill in the values and close that spreadsheet. Now that we're in NVivo, we come to import, and we import a classification sheet. So import classification sheet. We need to go and browse that file. Let's find it. For me, it's in my sample data. A little way down. Here we are. The only thing we need to change is this is really quite important. We do need to make it a case classification. You can listen to cases in other webinars or other little lessons, but we'll continue here with case classifications. Let's leave that as hierarchical names, and then we finish. That's all we need to change. NVivo seamlessly imports that Excel spreadsheet and arranges all the data for us, which is really nice, as a classification sheet sitting down here under cases. You can change this data, update it, add new values if you like, and NVivo will put things in alphabetical order. You'll see it has created a case automatically for every one of those entries in your spreadsheet. So for instance, Barbara, if I right-click on the Barbara case, pop on down to Properties, under my second tab, you'll see these are the entries from the Excel spreadsheet. So it arranges all that very nicely for us. So one last thing to get that data in, let's come over and import our files. So if I come to import my, let's come up and go to my interviews. I'm going to bring in, say, Barbara, Charles, Dorothy, just as a starting point, and import. So the only thing I now need to do is to connect the case with the file. So the case represents a person usually, and we want to make sure we code everything related to that person to that case. So what that means is you'll see there's nothing actually coded here at the moment. We've got 0 and 0. If I go back to, say, Barbara, I'm going to right-click on my Barbara file and code the whole document. Yes, that's perfectly okay to do that. And then I go to my cases and choose Barbara. Once I code Barbara there, you'll see that number now changes. I've got 1 and 1. So now within the case, I have everything that Barbara said. And if I have multiple files from Barbara, I'll code multiple files there. And then as you saw on that right click, if I go to Properties, you'll now see I have attribute. Whoops, hang on a minute. I do it under I'm in the wrong place. Sorry, I do it under my cases here. I right click just to check if you're watching and case classifications, and there we are. So now if we ask a question based on all the females versus the males in the study, it will know that we're talking about Barbara and whatever's coded to the Barbara case. So continue that with each of your other files. We right click and we code the whole document, come down and find your case and code that there. And then we're going to start working in the cases here.